Glenn Jacobs has had one of the most storied careers in WWE history. Showing enough resilience to outlast the bad times gave Glenn the opportunity to become Kane, the storyline brother of one of the World Wrestling Federation's most legendary superstars, The Undertaker. As the Kane character, Glenn would pretty much do it all in the WWE, winning the tag titles, the IC title, the WWF Championship, the World Heavyweight title. Even when the likes of Dave Meltzer and his Wrestling Observer newsletter seemed to have some underlying issues with Glenn Jacobs, the character got over huge and Kane became a prominent player in the WWE, working as both a heel and a babyface. Our video today takes a look at the origins of the Kane character and Glenn Jacobs' journey breaking into professional wrestling and the WWE. Now, do keep in mind that we won't be going over Kane's entire career in this video. We will be doing that in parts in the future, so we will only be looking at Glenn Jacobs' eventual rise in the WWE in this upload. Glenn Thomas Jacobs was born in Spain on April 26, 1967. His father was in the United States Air Force, and this is why Glenn was born outside of the USA. When Glenn became 4 years old, his father retired and the family settled on a farm in Hannibal, Missouri. Glenn had a keen interest in sports growing up, and at the Truman State University, he played both football and basketball. Glenn hurt his knee badly though, which put an end to his football days. Glenn left Truman State University with a degree in English literature. Due to his knee injury and his sports career not really playing out the way he thought it would, Glenn decided to become a third grade teacher. His teaching career didn't last long either, and he still yearned for a career in sports. Having been a fan of professional wrestling while growing up and having some drama classes under his belt, Glenn decided he would try to get into the world of pro wrestling. Glenn's childhood friend Mark Morton owned the CSWA promotion in Missouri, and Glenn was able to make his pro wrestling debut with the promotion in 1992. Glenn's ring name during his debut was Angus King. Wanting to get better at his craft, Glenn sought training from the Malenko family in Tampa, Florida. The Malenko Wrestling School was ran by Boris, Dean and Joe Malenko, so we can assume that Glenn's training here helped considerably in making him a better superstar. Glenn would then find work in the USWA, working as Doomsday and also making appearances as the Christmas Creature. Glenn also worked in Smoky Mountain Wrestling as Unabomb, tagging up here with Al Snow to create the Dynamic Duo tag team. The Dynamic Duo were able to capture the Smoky Mountain tag team titles. In 1993, Glenn had a one-off match for WCW where he lost to Sting. Speaking of big matches during his early days, in August of 1995, Glenn, working as Unabomb, had a match with The Undertaker on a Smoky Mountain show. So Glenn made his way to the WWF in 1995, working first as Unabomb. On the June 26, 1995 episode of Raw, a vignette was aired that gave us a look at Glenn's new character. Glenn would be portraying Jerry Lawler's private dentist, Isaac Yankem. Yankem was put across as a sadistic and evil dentist, brought into the WWF to help Jerry Lawler get rid of his biggest enemy at the time, Bret Hart. In his first few months in the company, Isaac Yankem was unable to defeat the Hitman. The pair had a match at SummerSlam 95 which Bret won by disqualification, and they also had a steel cage match on Raw, again won by Bret Hart. One would imagine that working with Bret Hart in your first few months in the WWF could only be a good thing, and it likely did help Glenn become a better worker, but it was the gimmick here that hurt his credibility. The Isaac Yankem character was put to rest in 1996 after a string of losses to bigger and more established superstars. Later in 1996, Glenn was repackaged as the Fake Diesel, a stunt seemingly put together out of spite, demonstrating the lengths Vince McMahon would go to prove a point. I've covered the Fake Diesel and the Fake Razor Ramon already on this channel, and if you want to learn more, I'd recommend checking out that video. Before the Fake Diesel character was retired though, Glenn again worked against The Undertaker on the December 22nd, 1996 edition of WWF Superstars. The fake Diesel and the fake Razor Ramon last appeared at the 1997 Royal Rumble. Glenn would not be seen again until October later in the year. The build-up for Glenn's new character, Kane, was done quite well and shows what the WWE could achieve if they slowed things down and took their time instead of hot-shotting everything. The Kane character was built up around 7 months without Kane himself ever being presented on TV screens, so when he did eventually make his way down to the ring, there was definitely a load of anticipation. But anyway, let's go back to how it happened. The Undertaker captured the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 13. 1 month later at In Your House Revenge of the Taker, Undertaker worked against Mankind, who had Paul Bearer in his corner. Paul, as we all know, had previously been The Undertaker's manager, however their relationship turned sour at SummerSlam 96 when Paul turned on the Dead Man. At the Revenge of the Taker show, Paul got a fireball thrown in his face by The Undertaker. On the May 12th, 1997 episode of Raw, a comically bandaged Paul Bearer and Mankind made their way to the ring to make an announcement. Paul Bearer said, "You remember, Undertaker? Oh yes you do. I'm going to give you one more chance for us to get back together. If you do not accept this final offer, I'm going to do something that only you know about, Undertaker. The secret that only you know. I'm going to reveal your secret to the whole world. You hurt me, Undertaker. Come back or I'm going to hurt you." So we were left wondering what on earth Paul Bearer could have been talking about here. Undertaker made his way to the ring the following week on Raw, and in an interview segment with Vince McMahon, Paul Bearer appeared on the Titantron demanding that Undertaker comes back to him or the secret will be revealed. Undertaker asked for more time, and Bearer gave Undertaker another 7 days to make his decision. Of course, this was a tactic to get people to tune in again a week later. So let's jump to the following week, the May 26th episode of Raw. At the end of the show, Paul made his way to the ring. Paul said that the secret had been burning in him for years, making references to Undertaker's family and how Paul had promised the Undertaker's parents, at their graves, that he would never reveal this secret. Before Paul could say any more, Undertaker quickly made his way to the ring. Undertaker said that he hates Paul Bearer and he hates what he has to do on this night. Undertaker then grabbed Paul Bearer by the throat and we all thought Taker was about to destroy him, but as Raw went off the air, the Undertaker let go and he sided with his old manager. There were more questions than answers here, and the whole thing kept viewers tuning in to see the story unfold. The following week on Raw, we learned that the Undertaker and Paul Bearer relationship would be a rocky one. Paul Bearer said that Undertaker would now be his personal item of destruction, and Undertaker was only allowed to do what Paul Bearer said. In the weeks that followed, the Undertaker found it very difficult to take orders from Paul Bearer, and on the June 30th 1997 edition of Raw, Paul Bearer made his way to the ring and the secret would be revealed. So during this promo, Paul Bearer said, "We are talking about a little funeral home, a family-owned funeral home. The father was the mortician, the mother was the secretary, and there were 2 little kids there. One kid was a little red-headed punk, and then there was a second kid, a sweet little kid named Kane. I was the apprentice at the funeral home. The Undertaker's father was a mortician of excellence. He taught me everything I know. But while I was working at that funeral home, I noticed a lot of things going on. That little red-headed punk, there was something funny about him. He had a look in his eye, the look of the devil. What was so sad about the whole situation was that poor little Kane followed Undertaker everywhere he went. Undertaker was Kane's hero. Anything the Undertaker did was fine. My apprenticeship went on for about 2 years. The Undertaker and Kane would run around the funeral home like wild men. They'd sneak behind the garage, smoking cigarettes. But one particular afternoon, I was leaving to go to school. I look behind me and who do I see? That little red-headed devil seed, The Undertaker, and his little brother. Something didn't seem right, but I went to school. I came back that night, and what do I see? I see fire trucks, I see ambulances, I see smoke, I see the funeral home in ashes. Someone burned down the funeral home. Inside the funeral home was the family who took care of me. I looked at the bushes, and who do I see? I see The Undertaker. Undertaker, you burnt the funeral home down to the ground. Undertaker, you are a murderer. Later in the night we are shown The Undertaker backstage. Undertaker said he was not responsible for setting fire to the funeral home. Undertaker said his parents and Kane were in the funeral home when it burned down, but he was not responsible for starting the fire, and it was actually Kane who started the blaze. Undertaker stated that when Paul Bearer forced him to look at the charred remains of his mother, it changed him forever, and he took it upon himself to become the Undertaker character that we all know today. Sounds fucking ridiculous as I say this now, but to be fair, The Undertaker done a great job here during this promo. It was also revealed later that Kane was Bearer's illegitimate son and The Undertaker's half-brother. Paul would say that Kane is actually alive. Paul said that parts of Kane's body were disfigured and he was unable to go outside into the sunlight. Paul also said that for years, Kane has always dreamed of coming face to face with his brother in order to get his revenge. We were then teased in the weeks that followed that Kane was going to indeed show up. Undertaker started a feud with Shawn Michaels after HBK cost Taker the WWF Championship at SummerSlam 1997. After their match at In Your House Ground Zero ended in a no contest, the first ever Hell in a Cell match was booked for In Your House Bad Blood. We all kind of knew that Kane was going to show up at Bad Blood. The Kane debut had been teased for so long by this time, and the TV advertisements promoting the show kind of gave it away also. During these commercials, Paul Bearer could be seen saying the words, "He's coming, dead man," referring to the arrival of Kane. With this in mind, the first ever Hell in a Cell match featuring Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at Bad Blood was so captivating that Kane was the last thing on my mind anyway as the match played out. In the final moments of the match, when Undertaker was about to defeat Shawn Michaels, the lights went out in the arena. We heard the church organ introduction to Kane's entrance theme for the very first time, and out walked Paul Bearer and Kane, Glenn Jacobs' new and most successful character. Kane proceeded to rip the door off the Hell in a Cell structure as The Undertaker looked on in shock. Kane delivered a tombstone piledriver to The Undertaker and walked away as Shawn Michaels took advantage and pinned the dead man. The Kane character looked great in his debut. The red attire worked, the mask gave a sense of mystique, and the guy was huge, looking like he could legitimately destroy The Undertaker. His first match was against Mankind at Survivor Series 1997, and putting Mankind against Kane I feel was a smart move. Mick Foley wouldn't mind bumping around the ring to make Kane look like $1 million, and this is exactly what happened. This match is kind of forgotten about due to the other events surrounding the 1997 Survivor Series, but go back and check this one out for sure. Notable here also is the whole match takes place under these red lights. This would be a trademark of Kane's early matches, but it was soon ditched. The Undertaker initially refused to fight Kane in the classic "I won't fight my own flesh and blood" stuff that the WWE had already pulled for feuds such as the Bret vs Owen feud. Undertaker was still working with Shawn Michaels and DX around this time period, and at the 1998 Royal Rumble, when we all thought Kane had actually sided with The Undertaker in the weeks prior, Kane interfered in a casket match that featured Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. After the match, Kane locked the casket with The Undertaker inside it and set fire to the casket. This eventually led to The Undertaker fighting his brother Kane at WrestleMania 14, a match that saw Kane take the loss. The gimmick was a success right out of the gate. Glenn Jacobs must have thought that his days were numbered in the World Wrestling Federation after he portrayed an evil dentist and partook in the petty fake diesel stuff. Right up until the present year of 2019, Kane still makes appearances in the WWE, demonstrating just how strong the character was for over 20 years. And although the character would see many alterations and changes, no one can say that Kane bombed in the WWF. Quite the opposite, actually. Down the road we will, of course, look more into the Kane character, and we'll also talk about his biggest feuds and his biggest matches over his 20-year career. Glenn left the Truman State University with a degree in English. Glenn left the